Perfect. Call the meeting of the Municipal Airport Authority to order and welcome everybody. Eric's already chimed in that he can hear us. For the rest of the people on the Zoom call, if you can mute so there isn't interruptions, and then try to remember that you're muted when you speak. So we'll go from there. It's my first meeting. Hopefully I'll keep this meeting on the rails here. Mr. Captain says he has to meet with President Biden in 45 minutes. So Jim will get you in and out of here very quickly. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting January 24th?
Motion.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Hingham.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye.
Capitan.
Aye.
Heckman.
Aye.
Osgood.
Aye. Do I have a motion to approve the airport vouchers totaling $509,149.99?
Motion.
Second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Hingham.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye.
Capitan.
Aye.
Heckman.
Aye.
Hingham. Osgood.
Aye. I was wondering if I really got two votes.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the individual vouchers A through T?
It's A through S, we took out S, meeting hunt, we didn't have that number.
Alright. Meeting hunt does not get paid. Very simple.
Motion to approve A through S individual vouchers.
I second.
Second? Call the roll, please.
Hingham.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye.
Capitan.
Aye.
Heckman.
Aye.
Osgood.
Aye. Alright, agenda item 4, receive communication from North Star Aviation Insurance requesting an extension. And we should have had the letter from North Star in there. The only question I have is just the dollar amounts if we're talking current and increases.
Okay, the 3% escalators for calendar year or for the next year, the rate is $9.61 a square foot, and it'll be $20,440.47. And it goes to $9.90, $10.20, $10.51, and $10.83. So that's the progression that we have in the escalators, topping out in 2027 at $23,035.41.
Discussion.
None. Motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I just wonder, and this is for down the road, but with 6 to 7% inflation that we're now looking at, these are the times when our automatic escalators sometimes get out of whack, but I think we have to ride with this for a while before we look at it. With that, call the roll, please.
Hingham.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye.
Capitan.
Aye.
Heckman.
Aye.
Osgood.
Aye. All right, we have communications from Customs and Border Patrol, Border Protection, excuse me, to extend their lease another 10-year period. And the same question there, it's just what's the dollar amount?
The dollar amount is zero.
Zero.
We have nothing but expense with this general aviation facility, and we just replaced their video surveillance and security system and extensive cost per their requirements. So this is the government's boilerplate lease, and this is where we're at in the process. They requested their extension now, even though it's not due until October 1st.
All right, well, we have a motion and a second, and we have discussion.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. My only question is, have we asked them to pay?
Everybody in the country has.
Have we sent them an eviction notice? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Hingham.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye.
Capitan.
Oh dear.
Capitan.
Yep, yes.
Heckman.
Aye.
Osgood.
Aye. All right, well, they help us on the next one, right? It's just the FAA grant amendment for I think the remaining amounts due there, 96,560. It's in the memo there, brings it to about a 98, 99% federally funded project.
So this is just for your information that there was a grant amendment received. Didn't know this was coming, and it's there, and we did the final drawdown for the SRE building, a little over $583,000. And the balance that's remaining, I think Jeff, is around $8,000 that we plan to put into a CARES addendum.
Correct,
To the final share, so, and that CARES development addendum is unknown when we'll actually see. So it's just an informational piece for you.
All right. Item number 7, we have representatives here from Skydyne, and I'd like to do a presentation.
Yes.
I guess you come on up here, stand on the X, and stare directly into the camera.
All right, very good. Well, my name is Dustin Shanahan with Skydyne. Terry Northern's here with me, right-hand guy in our operation. And I just wanted to take a few quick minutes and go through a quick PowerPoint slide of an update for the concessions area. Most of you are new from when we first took over, so I think it's good to have a quick refresher on who we are and kind of where we came from and what we have coming in the future. Again, our company's called Skydyne. We've been here since 2012.
Ask if they can see it.
Okay. Can everybody see the presentation at this point?
No,
No,
I can
okay.
barely hear him. If you could take a step closer to the table, that would be great.
Okay, Jaren's working on it. Tell us when you can see it.
They should have.
Okay, in now.
Oops. Sure, now I can't. Oh. Yes,
Click on slideshow,
which one is it?
slideshow on top.
Yep, go to the right.
Right?
Up.
And it says annotations and slideshow. Nope, oh yeah.
Oh,
There it is.
Okay, again, we're with Skydyne. My name is Dustin Shanahan and Terry Northern. Just giving you a little quick update here on our company and kind of what we have going on here in the next a few years, and just trying to get everybody familiar again. It's been a long time, and most of the board has changed, I believe, since then. But we've been your operator here since 2012. You were our first airport location for our company, and it's really become a niche that we've expanded upon since then. We're family owned. My brother and myself. I had another brother that was involved with us, and he recently passed away, so now it's just the two of us. And we were the 2011 South Dakota SBA Family Owned Business of the Year, and a runner-up for the 6 or 7 state area nationally. We're a hands-on company. We have direct contact with ownership. I'm the one that's here. I'm the one that makes the decisions. I'll be here, routinely. Charity efforts, of course, we're big into disadvantaged youth and children's home societies and children's related charities. We have 300 full-time employees in 3 states: South Dakota, North Dakota, and Montana. And I'll try to be quick here in respect the time. Yeah, next slide, please. These are some of our other locations, airport related. Of course, we're in Fargo here, Sioux Falls, Rapid City, and Billings. All very similar in size and scope to the Fargo operation. One thing that is noteworthy is that we have transitioned each of those facilities during major construction projects, and at each of those facilities. And our relationship with our corporate office in Sioux Falls, and we have other restaurants in Bismarck and Aberdeen and a few other locations as well. But we have a quick response time when needed, so we're not very far away. We could be here. If we're not already here, we could certainly be here within a couple hours or what have you. And there's frequent site visits. Terry's here frequently, as well as myself and others. Some other notable locations that we have is our El's Oasis restaurant in Oklahoma on the river there. It's been there since 1912, so over 100 years. We've been there for a few years now. Recently acquired that. Has a lounge and a gift shop and other aspects to that. just wanted to obviously explain to you that, we have a broader knowledge of just airport food service. We also do travel, fuel and food service and bars and lounges and those types of things. These are some of our brands that we're affiliated with. Basically just a collage of different pictures here, but we're associated with Cinnabon, Jamba Juice, Callister's Deli, Auntie Anne's, Subs, Subway, Auntie Anne's pretzels, excuse me. And then we also have our own brands, Flightline Tap and Grill, other ones that are basically geared towards each community in which they're located. So we try to have a nice balance of national brands and local brands at our airports. It's important, I think, for some balance there. But those are some of our brands, and those are some of the things that we can certainly do for you in the future. We're currently doing Subway now, of course, but we're really pretty much wide open and very flexible for any of your, if there's something that you'd like to see, we're certainly would look at bringing that in here to you. So the current statistics here for the Fargo Airport, in 2012, our dollar per plane passenger was $3.35. In 2022, it's $4.73. So we've had a nice increase over that time span, but really that number is extremely low due to the lack of adequate facilities and low security side of things. Industry average in a regional airport like this, post-security operations is about 80-90% of the sales, and pre-security is 10 to 20. And so our target, for price dollar per enplanement would be in this facility. Once there is additional facilities, would be at $7.75 per passenger and above. Currently at our Sioux Falls location, mid $8 right now per plane passenger. It's almost double what you have here. So, and so I really think you're missing out on $160, $175, possibly $200,000 a year in commissions. And the current commission rate here at the airport is still very competitive. You're currently 2 points higher than what we are in Sioux Falls, and you're 2 and 4 points higher than we are in Billings. And Rapid City is kind of a wash. So one is lower and one's higher. So if you average them, they'd probably be about the same. So, and by the time the construction is complete and the right mix of products, concepts, and brands, I comfortably predict that we would capture $8 and above on per plane passenger. So, so there's a big gap there that I think that could be realized as you go forward and as we improve the facilities with your renovation project coming up. Some of the things to expect from us going forward as you have the new renovation project and all the things that you're getting ready to expand upon here is that we're flexible. We've gone through expansions and renovations like this in the past. We understand what it takes to be flexible. We're eager to please. We want to be good partners. It's necessary for our guests to be cared for and properly serviced, even though you might be serving out of a temporary location or might move us from one, during construction, move from one area to the other. There's always going to be a hiccup, and we're going to do what's right to make sure we take care of the traveler. Some of the potential instances of relocation, there's disruptions that could happen. Just want to let you know that we'll roll with those and certainly take care of them. And another thing that we would do is we'd be involved with the airport as much as possible regarding the review with the proposed layouts of the new terminal project, regarding the food and beverage side of things. We work with the architect at no cost. We work with the engineers at no cost. A lot of times a consultant gets hired from an architect perspective, a third-party consultant for, usually it's a restaurant consultant of some sort is hired. And a lot of times those fellows are incentivized to put in certain brands or do certain things, and I've kind of seen that many times, and I know kind of what to expect and where we can save some money. How you mind? This over there.
Thank you.
Oh, I got dry well here.
So always, we're currently getting 10% of food sales and 14% of alcohol sales, which is significantly higher than airports our size in the country.
So when it comes to those consultants, we can certainly help with making sure that they don't overcharge you or over put in things that really aren't necessary for the little things. They, obviously they're incentivized and they get a commission based off of what kind of oven they put in or what kind of this or that they put in. And so we're there to help make sure the airport gets the best bang for their buck. So, and it's rather common for the airports to contract with their current concessionaire through the construction process. And it helps eliminate any disruptions to the guests. We're here, we're familiar with the flow of business, and we're here in the facility, and we're certainly would love to be your contractor going forward through the construction project, and of course after that. We would certainly are prepared to make a sizable financial contribution when the terminal project, when you get to that phase, when you're looking for us to make a contribution, we're certainly ready to make a contribution to be your long-term provider here. Some of the new brands and partnerships that we'd like to talk about today, and I'll touch on it briefly, but is to provide at least one local ACDBE partner. So go ahead, Darren, if you hit the next screen.
What's that mean?
ACDBE is an airport concession disadvantaged business enterprise.
Thank you.
So this is an example of an ACDBE partner that we put in Montana and Rapid City, the Billings and Rapid City locations. She has a small restaurant or small coffee shops in town in Montana and South Dakota. And we searched her out, we found her and talked to her and brought her on as a partner and helped her get her ACDBE certification. So we helped her get it in Montana, and then we helped her get it in South Dakota. And she's a small business, minority owner, and so she was certified in both of those states. Here we're looking, and out there, Mountain Mud Espresso is a brand that's known out there. And so here, if you hit the next screen, Darren, that's a picture of the Mountain Mud on one side, the coffee shop, and then there's a horseshoe-shaped bar on the other side. Just one example of what we did in Billings, Montana, for the operation there. And I can certainly share more of those with you as we go forward, but just wanted to give you a little flavor of what to expect. Her program really does rival a Starbucks or a high-end coffee shop. It's a little small there, but so what we're looking for is we're currently searching out some of those partners right now in Fargo. We have our eye on a few, and I'm here today this afternoon to talk to a few more and try to get them on board what we're going to do. But I'd like to find the concepts that would fit here. That would be a local partner that I could help them get their ACDBE certification, and that benefits the airport, of course, because they get some ACDBE credits from the federal government, and we also, get to have somebody's local brand. So it's beneficial in multiple ways. We get to represent someone's local brand. They get their brand in the airport. They get publicity, and they get, financially, they get a commission off it as well. So, and it helps both of us. We can help them. They can help us. So the partnership, of course, there's additional local resources with training and hiring and staffing that they can help us with. And I think it's really important to have a nice balance of a couple local brands and a couple national brands. If you like the Subway, we can continue with that. If you'd like to see something else instead of the Subway, we can go to a McAllister's Deli or Schlotsky's or multiple other things. But it's really about having a couple different brands and having a balance of local and national, and if we could fold in a ACDBE certified partner or two, that'd be fantastic, so.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? And Sean,
Yes.
this is more for Sean. Where are we with their lease right now, and where is it gonna overlap in the construction project?
Okay, so their lease currently expires December 31st of 2024.
Okay.
And the lease requires them to request their extension 9 months prior
Okay.
to the end of the lease.
And the reason I ask is you're right in the middle of, it's catch-22 basically for you, and I personally don't think we wanna lose a local, someone that's been here through the last several years and put up with us and all that's gone on. I don't wanna lose that, so I think we have to keep that in mind.
We certainly appreciate the partnership, and we want to be here too. And we've come a long ways together. It's been a great mutual partnership for both of us, and we've grown, and we just want to continue to grow with the airport here, and along the way bring in some more local brands. And it's nice to have a Subway, a national thing that everybody recognizes. Cinnabon, we're doing Cinnabon in our locations now. People recognize that. But it's also nice to have the local coffee shop or the local, the deli or whatever it might be. So we're working on those relationships. We know that's important to the local, to all you around this table. We know that's important. And so, and I think if we can do that and bring in an ACDBE person, so it's a small business owner that needs the publicity and needs the additional sales too, it helps out both ways. So, go ahead, Derek. So this is the final screen here, so what we'll do for you guys, we'll bring new and exciting brands, we'll provide an ACDBE certified partner, we'll be involved as little or as much as the airport would like us to regarding the new build out of the new facility. We can help with that, we can help control some costs. We've improved the technology that customers are coming to expect, order from the phone, order and pay from the phone, order at the table from the phone, order while you're in line, all sorts of things that are coming, that are already here. Financial investment, we're vested, we're gonna make an investment, we're invested in the overall success. We will increase sales, and if we don't double sales, I'd be surprised once you get a new facility in here. We're flexible, we want to continue to be your partner. We'll always do what's right. If we get into a pinch somewhere along the line, we'll take the high road. We'll never do something that's not right. And most importantly, we won't let you down. So take care of the customer and the traveler. That's why we're all here. So thank you for your time. We're glad to answer any questions that you might have. And, hopefully everybody can hear it okay.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair.
Questions?
Yes, what do you need from the airport authority to feel comfortable to do consulting with the engineers and architects? Do you need something from us?
No, just go ahead. It's okay for me to work with the folks, and Sean and I have already kind of done that a little bit, but just as long as as they start to develop their plans and just include me in the process, I'll be here or wherever the meeting's at, or if I can see in town, that'd be great. If not, I can do it via Zoom, but mostly prefer to be on site with the architects and the contractors once they kind of get the site, kind of everything solidified a little bit more.
Okay. My one comment is, like, when you say Cinnabon, or I wanna make sure that we've got food for our passengers to get as they get on the plane, cause so many airlines don't serve food now, or if they do, it's really expensive, so to have a nice option, whether it's a Subway or the box sandwiches, and something that our travelers can pick up on their way out, that'll help our revenue, and will be a good service to the customer.
You talk about inbound customers or outbound?
Outbound.
Outbound, yes.
And then I think a lot of people like to get coffee. So to have a well-staffed and
Yes,
functioning
absolutely.
coffee bar.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to be a full program that rivals the Starbucks. Yeah, that's what everybody's looking for. And certainly our Billings, the one I showed you there in the Billings location, we have 3 baristas doing coffee at 6 in the morning, and they're flying through the customers. I mean, we'll do $1 million in coffee sales this year there, and out of that one site I showed you there. It's pretty amazing. But it's a good brand, and like I said, it rivals Starbucks. And we'll find that local person who have an eye on a couple, gonna meet with one later today. Her brand isn't quite there yet, but I think with the help, we can help her get her brand up. It's owned by 2 women in here in town, so we can help them get their brand up and help them rebrand a little bit. And I think it'd be great publicity for them and for us. And if it doesn't work with that group, we got another group in mind too. So
So I don't wanna jinx you, but you've had multiple perfect inspections from Cass Public Health.
yes, we were one of the first a few years ago. They'd never given out 100% in town until we had one here a number of years ago. We've had them consecutively since, 100% scores.
So I mean, like I say, the timing of the terminal expansion and working with the architects and their consultants to design the concession space for food and beverage. Kevin is here as well. Kevin and Cheryl run the gift shop. We have these leases expiring, like I say, in 2024, which is really an awkward time in the transition, but it is what it is. I mean, you decide how you want to proceed. Just knowing the logistics of what could happen if there's a change in concessionaires mid-construction. You know, they own a lot of the equipment that's there, so if they take it, you have a concessionaire coming in that because of, you know, supply chain and whatever else may not be able to get something. So just things to consider as we go forward. You don't have to make any decision today, but I think, you know, Dustin and his crew have done, we've got nothing but compliments about the restaurant operation since it's been here. We fully recognize that we have more sales that we can get post-security if we have the room. And back in 2011, when we added the Gate 4 Cafe and the bar and lounge, I mean, our investment didn't exceed $250,000, and I think they were on $450,000. So they've got some buy-in here as well. So
When it comes to the future investment, we're certainly ready to put, you know, whether it's 500, 750, or above into it. We're certainly do that for a long-term contract when we get going. And like I said, when it comes to the construction process, we can help keep the costs down as much as possible too, regarding the concessions part of it.
So one of the other things to mention, so if you decide to go with a Subway in the new area or a Trotsy's, whatever it is, they're 100% responsible for the fit up of that space, that cost. You know, we may participate in the building of shelves that would stay or something like that, but as far as, you know, the branding of it, that falls on the concessionaires. So probably the same with Kevin and Cheryl and what they do in the shelving and, you know, the point of sales, kiosks, the technology to put in to run a music gift shop. That's all there as well. So.
Thank you for bringing us up to date here, appreciate it.
Certainly.
And I
Appreciate your time.
I think the best way forward for us is to identify, we've got the gift shop, we've got the dining services. If there are any other contracts that are gonna kind of overlap the expansion project, how do we deal with those? Is that, you know, we may have, absent the project, may have gone out and done requests for proposals towards the end of this or whatever. But we're gonna have to try to kind of find a way through because there is the financial piece of it too. So maybe next meeting we'll just have a discussion about how to handle that, and so we're consistent across all of them. Because I don't know, Sean, if there's anything other than these two, or we're gonna
That's
run
it,
into-
just those two.
We might as well deal with them in the same manner. Go
Thank
from
you for
there.
your time, and
Yeah.
I'm always available for questions and anything you might have. So.
All right, appreciate it, thank you. All right.
So then we'll go back to Brandon and Brett and everybody that's online from Mead and Hunt.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. Everyone's doing well. This morning we just wanted to provide an update on the design progress. We have some floor plan developments to share with you, and then just some exterior perspectives that we'd like to get your feedback on. And then we also have assembled a CMAR selection committee that we would like to get approval to move forward with today. So, Darren, can I share my screen?
I think so.
Awesome. Yep, I got it. All right, well, before we jump into the design, I want to first start off with the floor plans. so we're translating the sketches from the design shred that we had, the feedback from the board, into a workable model right now. There are a couple items that have evolved that we just wanted to walk through and just one to inform you on, and to get any feedback, comments, or concerns. First item is the concourse exit. So currently the airport has 2 exits. So if this footprint looks accurate, you have an exit on either side. And part of the preferred concept was to consolidate those into one exit. Lately, TSA has been promoting the use of automatic exit devices, and we've been moving forward with these in the majority of our designs. So the intent is to incorporate this into the terminal design too. To accommodate the throughput, we would have essentially 2 running through here. Right now, we're looking at this location here. So that was one development that we came to, and then the other one is the airport admin space and the conference room location. So right now, during terminal designs, we try to look for ways that we can get the administration space to have a direct view of the airfield, monitor real-time weather conditions and equipment failures, or anything else that could disrupt or endanger the operation of the airport. One way we found was that third floor administration conference room space, as shown here, would accommodate this. It's about 3,400 square feet. It's not moving the needle either way budget-wise. It's just reallocating where that space would be. This is an initial run at a layout, but with the conference room up there, and then having offices available, and then some airport admin spaces also include viewing platforms too for the public. Reception would be down here, and then a direct elevator and stair access for employees would be available. That would look like this down on the first floor. So even though we don't have the site fully developed yet, this is about where employee parking would be, and so employees would have direct access, into the stairway and elevator. So as I said, square footage and budget wouldn't be moving the needle either way. But those are essentially the 2 latest developments that we wanted to check in with you, see if you had any questions, concerns, objections in moving in this direction. I guess check in there before I move in to the exterior developments.
So you're looking for
Any questions?
confirmation that the board is comfortable moving forward with the 3rd floor, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Questions?
Mr. Chair, I think if it's an efficient use of the space, easy access and visibility for management, I think it's appropriate.
How does that affect our budget to add another floor?
He said it didn't. Just go, Brandon, what was the budget comment you made?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't move the needle either way on the budget. Right now, it's reallocating the square footage footprint to where we were. So this, we carved out some square footage over in this area here on 2nd floor to provide this square footage here.
How about for ADA and handicap accessible and an elevator that would serve that third floor?
Yeah, we will have an elevator and ADA accessibility, complete ADA accessibility all the way up first, second, and third.
Say, Brandon, why don't you tell them about when you were exiting the checkpoint and kind of what drove moving this?
Yeah, so one of the reasons we that this kind of pushed us into looking at that, and this came up during our study too. You know, the potential of adding a third floor. However, during the study, we didn't know the soil conditions, whether it could accommodate a third floor, you know, which could have introduced deep foundations, which there would have introduced extra costs. We had soil tests that confirmed that we are good with adding a third floor with standard foundation. Structural engineer confirmed that. So what that does by moving the third floor over there, it relieves this pinch point at the checkpoint. So it opens a space up where we had airport administration originally right here. This opens a space up for more concession exposure for Dustin and Terry or whoever ends up going there. But we see a lot of opportunity here for revenue spaces while maintaining transparency to the airfield. And it softens this turn to come out into circulation after the checkpoint. We saw that as a huge benefit in doing this, as well as providing direct monitoring and views of the airfield operations.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, is the third floor the whole building, or how much of the building will be a third floor?
Just that section.
Just that section?
When you see the
Just
visual
that
of the exterior, you'll kind of see what.
Okay. Because I have a question about that, if I might.
Sure.
Me being an outsider, if you're putting that administration there and that's a mechanical over there, I would be curious what it would look like to run the administration along the whole north side so you get more window exposure, more view out. I like windows. If you're versing it, putting it into the middle of the building where you have absolutely no fresh sunlight at all, as much. It's just a thought. So run it across the north side rather than.
Well, it'll be totally surrounded by windows.
It will be,
Yes,
okay.
yes, it's totally surrounded by
Yeah.
windows.
Your administration has,
Yes.
okay, good.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All natural light.
And I can show you, that's a pretty good segue into the exterior. I know last time around, we were looking at the different concepts, and we've developed this further, and I have some views of what this third floor would look like as well, just some rough sketches.
I got you.
This one first. So yeah, so you'll have windows all the way around. We do need it to connect to this backside for access somehow, and it just really related well because we had the loading dock here as well. So with the parking lot layout, that'll make things a little easier.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so then realistically, 360 visibility from the administrative offices?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
My only concern, and having a couple years ago just completed glassed-in offices on two sides, and it's chill or bake. We have not been able to control the environment in those offices, and so you get somewhat of an eyelash there, but I really hope if you do that if we have large windows in small office, not small offices, but the discomfort level changes with the angle of the sun and the time of the year. After spending all the money on glass, then we spend all sorts of money on shades. So,
Yeah, yeah, we heard you guys loud and clear the last time that it's the number one concern here. Having southern exposure and all this glazing, we want to make sure that we can control glare and unwanted heat gain. So we're gonna we will be incorporating, you know, the HVAC controls to be monitoring those. You'll have sensors within these spaces based on size of the building, so that it can monitor those elements. We're doing daylight studies as well as worst case scenario being, you know, during the winter having that sun come at a very low point where that's when you get the worst glare through these areas where the eyebrows aren't gonna be able to necessarily block that. So we're looking at different things to diffuse that glare, such as etch glass, electrochromatic glass, you know, even the horizontal louvers or sails, different ideas that are out there that we're looking at that we'll incorporate into the design and check in with you on final proposed solutions.
yeah, the only problem, well, not the only problem, but it was changes in conditions. When you go from a cloudy day to a sunny day, the heat gain into an office is quicker than the system could recover to it, so there was discomfort.
And that might have to do with your heat pump system too.
Yeah.
If we, you know, we're looking at a VAV system which can respond quicker to temperature changes like that, going from overcast to sunny. So I think with a combination of these, you know, we can maintain comfortable temperatures in these spaces, or have at least more control over it. We also look at, you know, in recent designs, you look at along windows, especially on the north side, radiant ceiling panels or radiant panels to help kind of protect that cold air migration further into the room. So I think it'll be a combination of those, but Steve with CMTA will be evaluating that closely.
And you also had something in the CMAR process that you'd like us to look at or approve?
Yeah, so before we jump into that, do you any comments or questions or takeaways? We just want to make sure that we're heading in the right direction here. There will be at the end of the month, we're looking at actually the 14th board meeting, March 14th. We're looking at having more developed our renderings, and we'll be at our milestone of schematic design to where we have these floor plan layouts and these renderings more solidified, so a little more formal. But just want to make sure that we're, you know, heading in the right direction here, and if we need to course correct anything, we certainly can.
I like it. I mean, I'm not in the administrative offices, but I imagine having a view of the airfield would be really advantageous for operations.
Mr. Chairman, I think anything that we can do to decrease our footprint of the administrative area and increase our food and beverage area, I think would be advantageous. So I'm in favor as well.
Agreed.
I'm just curious, you you've mentioned an outside viewing station on the north side. I think I heard you say that. Is there any value or a benefit to going up onto the roof? Like when you have an air show, you have your people up on the roof and have a real view that you just can't get anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be on the north side, the air show's down there, so.
But I mean, up on top of that third floor.
Possibly, but I don't know if we'd let anyone up there, but it's possible. We'll see.
It does seem like it's a recent design addition, like the RDO building downtown, or, I mean, where they add the rooftop.
Rooftop garden.
So one of the things we have here, Brandon,
Sean?
you probably aren't aware, is that we have a ton of local glass manufacturers. You know, the Marvin family, you got Tecton, Cardinal IG. And it'd be interesting for your engineers to speak with them about value-added engineering on the windows themselves and new technology that they may have that mitigates some of that you know, temperature, the heat accumulation and so forth in sunny days. So I can get you in contact with some of those engineers. They do a lot of things for companies all over the world right here in Fargo.
You bet. Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Hey, Sean, I have a question for you.
Yes.
As I was going through Paris a couple weeks ago, they have outside smoking area inside the terminal area, and you could go out, and it's really a garden area, but all the smokers go outside and they smoke. I personally don't smoke, but a rooftop observatory area, would you be able to smoke up there, or do the federal laws in the United States prohibit that?
Well, right now, the airport authority bans smoking on the in the terminal itself, so I guess that would be a change in policy.
I know JFK's got a outdoor smoking area. That seems like a recent addition.
Most right now, everybody smokes out front, 20 feet away from the door, I think is what the ordinance is, 20 feet.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah, but it's on the dirty side of security. I'm
Correct.
thinking of having a smoking area on the host side of security after they've already gone through the sterile area, then have a smoking area for them.
Okay. So Brandon, take note of that.
Sure.
I've seen smoking rooms too.
Really?
I'm trying to think what airport.
Denver has one of them.
Salt Lake has a smoking room.
Who does?
We don't want to encourage it.
Right, yeah, it's, yeah.
Yeah, the haze layer in that smoking room in Salt Lake is usually about 4 feet in the air. You can't see anything above that. It's pretty fun.
Mhm.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if, as that is a consideration, I then think we have to realize smoking what too, as our country changes. We should keep both in mind, whether you're smoking cigarettes or something else that's available at that point in time legally in the state.
Denver deals with it every day.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all over Denver.
Every day.
It's kind of opening up, it could be opening up a can of worms that,
It exactly would. And the marijuana, if it's legal, you can't control it, so, and that really offends a lot of people, so. Anyway,
What do we have to do to get one of the airline loyalty clubs?
yeah.
Quadruple in size, or should we offer Delta a spot there?
could be.
That might cut into the concessionaire's business, I think.
So on CMAR, I think you got your guidance there, Brandon, so for CMAR, why don't you give us an update on that quickly?
Yes. All right. For the CMAR selection committee, part of the construction manager at risk selection process includes the airport establishing a selection committee. So this committee will be responsible for evaluating the construction manager at risk RFP, shortlist the top 3 to be interviewed, and then score the candidates, where the highest score will be selected for negotiation. The selected CMAR will be proposed to the board for approval then at that time. So the North Dakota Century Code pretty strict about having 4 members and what their background is. 1 being administrative. I can just pull up the excerpt from the Century Code. So 1 being administrative individual from a governing body, registered architect, registered engineer, and a licensed contractor. So we are proposing that Sean represent the administrative individual, the governing body, Matt Dewey, who is our aviation architect market leader as the registered architect, and then Jeff Klein as the registered engineer, and then Ben Milland of Enclave Development as the licensed contractor. This mix gives us some local insight. It gives us aviation CMAR knowledge, and then it also gives familiarity of the airport and consideration of the airport's operational concerns. So, any questions or objections to that selection committee?
Any comments about the committee?
I guess, does the board know all of these people?
Matt has been online and here in person, you know Jeff Klein,
Yep.
I think you know me, hopefully.
Yep.
The only one that you probably don't know is Ben from Enclave, and Terry helped to seek out. We went through a bunch of different local contractors, and the ones that we had initially contacted planned to be the contractor of record for the building bill. So Enclave was different, so Terry led us to him.
So this group's gonna make a recommendation, just recommending one CMAR to the board here, or?
Correct.
Right. Are there any conflicts of interest that arise from this makeup of the board?
I would hope several.
Yeah.
Sean would have a conflict. Jeff would have a conflict, and I don't have a problem with it, but I think there's
Just
always
so we have the
conflicts.
record.
I mean, we're in a small community, there should be conflicts.
Would, for example, would the contractor be allowed to then bid the project also?
No.
They would not be, yeah, correct. And Terry Stroh and I are planning on being sit-ins in the interview. We won't have a scoring role, but we'll be sitting in as well. And if the selection committee has any questions on or may have missed something, Terry and I can take notes and.
Are there any board
Inform
members
them.
that would like to be an observer in the process?
Or you could represent, I could be an observer and a board member could be that administrative person, is that correct, Brandon?
Yes.
And in some cases, it might be better to have a board member, but I'm certainly open to the idea. That would be up to the chair to appoint.
I would certainly solicit volunteers if there is someone that would like to be involved in this process. Twice the word, no more pay.
I'd be willing to be involved, but I think Sean's expertise is important because of the operational expertise currently.
Yeah, and I could, like I say, provide input as what Brandon and Terry are going to do to the selection committee, but to be the one to actually do the scoring and be objective in that area, I mean, that certainly could be a board member too.
The other thing I'd ask the board, do you want more than one recommendation? Do you want to have a choice?
I think that's what the scoring committee brings, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Capitan? City President.
So then, I mean,
Jim,
essentially,
left the
we,
meeting, but I have no objection.
essentially by going through a scoring process, though, we could say this person, there might be a tie, or then you would have a,
Yeah, just.
or there'd be an option number one, option number two, based on the scoring, or something like that.
Yeah.
or-
These things always become difficult because you do have to be mindful of the open records. So the minute you have a quorum available, it becomes an open meeting. can be a problem. But the other side of it is if we get all the way through to a recommendation and the majority of the board doesn't want to accept the recommendation, then you're kind of at a standstill.
And in that case, the Century Code does give you the option, and the FAA also has a process for this. So we're kind of staying in between the lines here as we review and make sure that we're conforming to these processes. But the option, if the board doesn't approve the first that we bring to the table, we have the option to go with the runner-up. And that's the beauty of being able to have 3 interviews. So you have right there, you pretty much know what the options are in the playing field is.
Well, I would entertain a motion to approve the CMAR process with the individuals identified in compliance with the Century Code, and also naming Mr. Ingen as the board representative to the committee for selection and recommendation of this board.
I second.
I'm fine with it.
You've got to make the motion.
I don't think I should make a motion where I'm,
I'll make that motion.
All right. Do we have a second? I can yield.
I will second it.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Engen,
I'll abstain.
Lind,
Aye.
Capitan, just in case, are you there? Heckman.
Aye.
Cosgrove.
Aye. Item 9, moving quickly to item 9, just the attendance at the snow symposium in April. Why don't they have snow symposiums in December?
What's Buffalo know about that?
The attendants are all busy plowing snow at their airport, so we plan to have 1, possibly 2 of our airfield staff attend this. It's,
Can we bid for this sometime?
other cities have, and it stays in Buffalo.
Okay.
I'm not sure. It's the Northeast chapter of the American Association of Airport Executives. It's one of their conferences. We're in the Great Lakes chapter of our conferences as well, so 1 to 2.
All right, motion to
Motion.
approve.
Second.
Call the roll.
Engen,
Aye.
Lind,
Aye.
Heckman,
Aye.
Cosgrove.
Aye.
Such an appropriate place for it.
Biggest place on the planet.
Wow.
All right, item 10, we've got a little update. We've got some changes to the apron expansion
Or
area.
just an update on where we're at with meetings and
Yeah, so last week I had driven out to Bismarck to meet with the FAA to review the plans for the North GA and the South GA projects. And one of the big takeaways from that meeting with Mark Schrader is the program manager for Fargo, was he kind of pushed back on the eligibility of the aprons themselves. So as a general rule of thumb, the AFP handbook, which is the governing rules of the AFP program, states that the first 50 feet of any hangars is ineligible for funding. Which, we've had to deal with that in the past and, work around. He's really, I don't think he's trying to minimize the eligibility. He just wants for us to take a harder look at what it really needs to be so that he can justify it when he sends it up the chain at the FAA if he, so he can, justify up the money going to the project. So what I'm working on right now, I just got a few exhibits this morning, is going back into those projects and refining those areas of eligibility for both aprons. So as an example, you take a South GA, there's, 50 feet in front of the buildings, then over by the Air Museum, that kind of thing, there's some areas in there where, on the ends of hangars that he said, well, that's not eligible. So once I'm in the next couple of weeks, and by the time of the next board meeting, I want to have that refined so I can bring that forward to the airport authority, so there's a clearer picture on, you know, what the local share is gonna be. And he's even taken it so far as, and this kind of caught me off guard a little bit because they haven't done this in the past, is, you know, the payment that he's saying is eligible and ineligible needs to be prorated for the storm sewer, because the storm sewer is obviously sized for pavement that's out there regardless of who's paying for it. So, you know, we need to apply that percentage to the utilities, so that kind of took me back a little bit. Then the other thing is on the South GA, there's a water main and a sanitary sewer that we're replacing just because they're 70, 80 years old, so we're just replacing the stretch underneath our pavement footprint. His comment was, and I don't necessarily agree with this yet, so I gotta work through this with him, is those replacements are ineligible because they don't directly serve a airport operations buildings such as like a terminal or a SRE or an ARC building. So, but they do serve, you know, hangars over there. So, so I have to work through some of that with him. Also on the South GA, we had met with Terracon last Friday. If you recall that, you know, we had done some initial exploratory soil testing just to determine if there was contaminants down there on the South GA. There are. We have areas identified, we have, you know, depths identified. So what we're working with now with Terracon is do some more testing just to see what specific types of contaminants are there. So it's, you know, we don't know if it's, you know, it's obviously there's some fuel contamination, but we don't know if there's any, you know, lead or PFAS materials out there. So we want to do some initial testing prior to construction just to classify what contaminants are there. So once we do get into construction, there's a plan in place on how to deal with that. So, and then on the west side terminal, just still working through plans on that. We should have a set of plans in the next couple of weeks here. So.
We met with the Sweeneys on the North GA and their team to review the scope again of the North GA and what they're going to need to get their 2 hangars operational. We may not have the justification or funds for that matter to place concrete to the north where they plan to break ground on 2 more large hangars this summer. It all depends, and from the EEE call yesterday, it doesn't appear that we're going to know anything on funding until April. It's been pushed out. This is on the additional funds that the government put out in the bill. It was supposed to be February, then March, and yesterday they're indicating maybe 2 weeks, so we know what the grant amounts will be. We also met with the South GA hangar owners, the ones that were available, and talked about, put them on notice again that the width of their hangar out 50 feet, at least minimum, is not eligible. We have to work on some type of a reimbursement plan or special assessment or something of that nature for them to pay for that concrete. Same with Jim and what they'll be doing up in the Fargo Jensen area. So that could be somewhat contentious for some of the owners because that'll be a big bill for a few of them. It's a lot of money in that concrete. We'll have to come up with that.
I hope by the time of the next meeting, both the North GA and the South GA are roughly $13 million a piece. And hopefully by the time of the next meeting, I'll have an actual drawing to, you know, show all of you, you know, which shows the footprint of the pavements as well as, you know, what's eligible, what's ineligible, so you can just get a better sense of the finances.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
And I guess that a lot of people don't know this, but any of those improvements then are assets taxed by the city of Fargo, correct, John? So the city of Fargo does benefit from the improvement far beyond anything we're involved in, and I think that should be noted, that they get the benefit of taxing that improvement.
I think it's going to be critical that when we do have a change in policy that has an impact like this, we over-communicate to the hangar owners, both north and south. And Stacy, I don't know if this would be an eligible special assessment, but it could be offered, if it is, as a financing mechanism to special assess that concrete
50 feet.
for 25 to 30 years. certainly don't wanna offer it, but, that would allow them to spread that cost out over a number of years. And if it is a true special assessment, if they were to sell, they could transfer the special with it, so it might make it more palatable. We may be shot out of water very quickly.
I'm not sure of the answer, but I'll sure look into it.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair,
Thank you.
would that also then apply to the proration of the storm?
The storm sewer would storm water.
If they have water service, some of the hangars don't have water service, so.
Yep. Everybody loves special assessments.
Yeah, and the state hasn't,
Embrace it.
and the state hasn't weighed in on their grant eligibility, other than they follow the federal eligibility. There's some uncertainty on water and sewer, so Kyle from the State Aeronautics Commission will be chatting about that with his board, trying to keep costs, so.
Number 11, any airport construction security update?
Yeah, Terry's not able to join us, but do you have an update for him, or not?
Not on the exit plaza. The one thing that I was gonna mention is on the access control system that we're working on. Our completion date is the 12th of April of this year. We met yesterday, as a matter of fact, and one of the things, I kinda knew about this earlier, but Sun Electric confirmed it again yesterday. There's some network switches that they don't know when they're gonna get, and they've just, they've been continually reaching out to their supplier, and I understand the suppliers are reluctant to provide any type of delivery date. So we'll just need to, nothing we need to act on now, but I think there should be a change order just to extend that completion date. Maybe it's something similar to the East Economy lot where it has to be done within, X number of days of actual delivery of the missing equipment. So.
For the exit plaza?
No, this is for the access control system within the terminal building with all the card readers and cameras, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Just can't get parts.
Right. It's out of all of our control. Sounds like great to work with. So I mean, I foresee it as an issue, but it still is going to require a change order.
The only thing on the exit plaza is they are putting up the siding. You probably have noticed that, so that is in progress. I don't have anything else to add there.
Who's gonna be the first one through the plaza?
We just did a certificate of occupancy.
Oh, yeah, and they did issue the certificate of occupancy, so.
Yay.
That is,
Alright.
We should have a ribbon cutting.
We could do
So
that.
Eric Lind, he'll have to be back to be the first one through.
Or a big
We'll hold it
poster?
for you, we'll hold it for you, Eric. Alright,
Can't wait.
well, it'd be good to have you back. Any other items? Okay, I just at the end here want to throw out a couple ideas, and I would love to come in and change things, throw everything out on its ear, but the couple things I just want to ask you about, and we can bring them back. The first is we head into the construction projects here. I think our agendas are gonna get stretched out, and there's gonna be a lot of discussion through that whole process. One way to cut down on that is to switch to a consent agenda as part of our agenda process. To some extent, when you see the vouchers are all lumped together, the airport vouchers, and then the individual vouchers, but we could try to condense the agenda. You'd have a consent agenda at the beginning that would simply be one motion to approve. But the consent agenda has to be such that if there's any item placed on the consent agenda that anybody, any of the authority members, or really, to my way of looking at it, the general public, you would pull off the consent agenda for individual discussion. And so it's just a change in procedure, give you some time to think about it. There's pros and cons to it. People will say, oh, they use a consent agenda to hide items in there. But all the backup information and everything would still be the same. And if there is an item, it's somewhat of a privilege motion for any authority member to say, I want item C of the consent agenda put at the beginning of the regular agenda. So that's just one item to think about. If it's, suppose Sean and I could go through and show an example of a consent agenda, what items would be. You kind of feel your way into it. What are the items that fit there or not? If it's something you don't want to do, it doesn't make sense to have a split vote on this, because if you're opposed to consent agenda, you just pull everything off the consent agenda and put it on the regular agenda. So think about that. The other, as I look at, kind of the governance of this body, is we operate as a committee of the whole. And there is some advantage to having subcommittees from your board. And again, this is something we would have to discuss. You'd need a governance committee, typically an audit or a finance committee, possibly a compensation committee, and human resources. Now you might combine some of those duties, but the idea would be to have each of the board members represent one of those committees, and to fill out that committee with staff that deal with that issue. And also, this is where you would invite other members of the general public to be part of a committee, which becomes your pool of future authority members that are introduced then to the processes through one committee. And so again, this would be a change in the way that we would approach this. It may become just adding another layer of bureaucracy, but again, before I come forth and spring a whole thing on you, I just want you to know the options there. That committee as a whole works well. Individual committees, and I know the city commission uses portfolios. This wouldn't be that formal, but you'd probably have 3 committees with one member of the authority heading up each committee, and then filling those out with staff and members of the general public, as we try to keep people interested and knowledgeable about the airport and its functions and everything else. Somebody wouldn't have to jump in directly to the authority. You maybe get some experience going through that.
You mentioned HR, compensation, was the other one construction?
Well, yeah, there may be, temporary committees for construction or something like that. You could do audit. Audit is the typical committee that the board would work with the actual auditors and the finance function. Governance. And the human resources governance, somewhere in there, and I think this is going to become something we need to continually monitor, is pay scales, and how do we keep on top of the pay scales and the whole payroll system in this time of rapidly changing wages. That again, we would look to that committee to develop the expertise. My fear in when you have rapidly changing pay scales and you're trying to keep employees, you're kind of chasing that process, and it might serve us much better to be able to and very quickly react to those situations, but not simply throw dollars at it, but look at what's the job description, what are those things that are causing that, and how do we stay within in those confines. This to me is, as we go forward, especially with all the things we're going to see in construction over the next 5 years, we're going to have to stay on top of it. That would, be an important committee. Governance, again, governance could look at this. What are our legally mandated things? Do we need to meet twice a month? Could we meet once a month? I'm advocating for that. All those types of things. And then the last one, and this is just one that I've always done in chairing the board. We have as an entity a list of policies. And I don't know if we have one, Sean, if we have one big 3-ring binder of policies or whatever, but the thing about policies is they get written, they get put in a binder, and we don't review them often. It's mind-boggling to sit down and say we're going to go through every policy at once. And so I'm suggesting that each board meeting we simply go through in order, we pull out one policy and look at it. And it's not to change it, it's to look and say, as Rick pointed out, if we allow smoking, what type of smoking? Those are different things that may come up through the process. It's trying to break it down into just real bite-sized pieces going forward so that.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Question, so with respect to the policies and the dose of reality I got looking at the policies was there are the federal policies, there is the FAA policies, there's state policies, there's our generic policies internal. You're assuming the conversation is our internal policies? Because those others we have no control over, and
No.
they sometimes mesh, sometimes they conflict, and
No.
I don't know we can do anything about them.
No, we're gonna have to comply with those, but it's, you know, I'm just trying to, I probably should have written down an example.
There aren't many,
There-
because we do based with, well, we go back through Stuart and others, it's based on the board's practices and policies. We have more practices than what we do official written policies.
We should have our own employee handbook now too.
Yeah, the board
And
reviews.
we should, you know, again, not trying to do them all at once, but just look at them and it might just simply be, I read this, everybody's okay with it, there's no discussion, on we'll go with it. At the other end of it, are there things that we should be looking at and adding to?
So for instance, like we talked about the consent agenda, everybody should have had a copy of the bylaws when we were brought onto the board. There would need to be a change to the bylaws to change the meeting format. Possibly if you create subcommittees, there is a provision for subcommittees, just how you do that, if it's ad hoc or a standing committee.
Well, and that's where it kind of wraps around itself a little bit, because the governance committee would be the one that would be saying, hey, you want to comply with this? And again, I didn't want to come out and say, here's all the things you want to do. These are things to talk about, you know, put them on the agenda one at a time and have a discussion. These are not huge, earth-shaking changes, but just trying to keep us on top of things. Any discussion?
I guess the consent agenda part, I don't understand the necessity for it, because we literally do individual vouchers and the cumulative vouchers, it takes about a minute and a half. Unless there was an item that was so massive it needs discussion. And I don't know.
Well, that would come out of the consent agenda. We're just trying to save time and efficiency. And I know, Rick, your practice was to, you know, read all of the individual vouchers. That may or may not be necessary for the government.
I worked it down to A through F or A through whatever, just to
Right.
simplify things.
And like I said, I'm not saying this is gonna save a lot of time and effort. I don't know what it's gonna look like when we're into the construction process. So,
So for instance, today, we could have had on the consent agenda the minutes, the vouchers, the individual vouchers, North Star Insurance lease extension, the customs lease extension, the receiving the notice of the grant amendment, and the travel to easily have those on the consent agenda, one vote done.
That's fair.
it's probably not a huge time savings, but it's just, consent agendas are somewhat traditional public bodies. Again, not to hide things, just to.
Well, Mr. Chair, I do notice that throughout our agenda, a certain conversation brings up other questions, and so I think that's good for the public and good for the body to go through those line items and discuss them. But if it's simplifying a process, I understand that may be beneficial. I do like line item because other questions evolve from it for the architect, engineers, for staff, for the rest of the board, and Sean.
Well, like I said, I just want to throw these ideas out let you think about them a little bit, and then we can approach it. Because, a consent agenda, like I said, can be derailed very simply. That if you don't want it, we aren't gonna use it, it doesn't work, so. That will change your, So, any other questions or comments?
I think January was an all-time record January, so it did very well. Parking has been at or near capacity in the 3 lots for a number of days. I think we got a little bit of relief over the weekend. East Economy lot, I think was maybe 75% full. The elevator repair, we're not quite sure what we're gonna run into when Midwest Drilling starts here on Wednesday. It's actually, they're gonna be driving a pipe into the ground with a propane operated. We don't know what the noise is gonna be in the terminal, but we gotta get it done.
I'm hoping for either natural gas or oil.
Yeah.
We're hoping that the soils are such that they can do it, and they agreed to come this Wednesday versus in April. Coming into March, our busiest month with an elevator, that is probably on its last leg on the east end of the terminal building. I don't know what we're gonna do if that elevator fails today before this repair is done. Getting people to the second floor in wheelchairs is impossible, so anyway, we'll probably have an excess of 100,000 into this repair by the time we're done, maybe a little bit more than that. Just unfortunate.
Those are all done under the emergency procurement policies.
Yeah, much have to.
You really can't do bids or
You need to
anything else,
operate.
it's just,
Is what it is.
yeah.
So,
The elevator business is a tough one for the
and
consumer.
escalators.
I had one question, when
Yes.
they talked about, the exit, would that be like the double door exit, so now it doesn't have to be manned, and is that
Triple
what's?
door, yeah, so like
or
Las
triple-
Vegas, if you've been to
okay,
Vegas, if
yep.
one opens, there's another one, and then the one on the end, 2 lanes. That's the concept that we're looking at.
Okay,
And the reason that it's not centered is because of the elevator that's there, and I think the costs are prohibitive.
Sure.
And they removed that elevator, so we moved it to the west. There's another column that's out there you'll see when you leave, so we're kind of juggling available space for it.
okay.
Mr. Chair, having said that, does that exit accommodate a customs clearance too? Or
No,
not?
that's all separate. That'll be all on the west end. We haven't talked a lot about our FIS build out for customs. We need to still have some meetings with customs, make sure they're still on board. But that'll be a whole separate escalator, elevator, restrooms and everything for the FIS on the west end.
One more question, so on our vouchers, so the police officer, the checkpoint just for the month of January was 29,000?
Right.
So then we would be able to eliminate that position?
No, that's a separate process.
Okay,
What would be able to be eliminated are the 2 TSA employees that sit at the east and west exit right now. It's streamlining the TSA's responsibility,
okay,
so they don't have to do that.
okay,
It's in Williston, Minot has it, Grand Forks has one. We're just getting on board now to do that, so, but the police officer that's there, that varies from 29, I think 1 month it was 40,000, all kind of depends on how many pay periods are in there. 100% of that is charged to the airlines, so we recover. So whatever the police department charges us, we charge that to the airlines and recover that.
And the TSA pays us a portion,
Yes, that's true.
$20 an hour, and the rest is.
okay,
Yeah, the federal government caps it at 20, so it's the balance of what, and that runs anywhere from 11 to maybe 13,000 a month that we get reimbursed.
Okay.
It's the balance that goes to the airlines.
so where is that police officer?
They roam, but they do have a desk. When you come through the checkpoint, they have a desk that's up by the windows to the north.
Okay,
They're there, or they're roaming, or they're checking supplies that are coming into the secure area through the west exit door for the gift shop and the restaurant. But they do roam.
so just in addition to TSA, it's
Looks
just.
like a police
It's required by the feds, yeah.
Okay.
We had private security for many, many years. We thought that we were one of the last states that had private security fulfilling that function. They were armed, but under the state statute, they don't have arrest authority with or without warrant. We tried to fight that with Bismarck and the delegation, but no, they can't. So now it's going to be licensed police officer. So
Okay,
that
Thank you.
changed in 2017, I believe. So I don't know, how are we doing, Commissioner Fernandez? Things are good?
Things are good. If I could just get along with your new chair.
That's not gonna happen.
Call Rick. I don't have any
Well,
All
thank
right.
you.
Anything else? Adjourned.